alumno de la carrera de Comunicación e Imagen Empresarial de la UPC, y les doy la más cordial bienvenida a esta charla, How Classic PR is Resuscitated by Inbound PR, donde hablaremos con el experto Mathieu, Janin, un comunicador con más de 30 años de experiencia en el área de relaciones públicas y comunicaciones, y también fundador de la agencia Please, la primera agencia de marketing y PR de contenidos en la parte francesa del mundo. Bueno, sin otro particular, le damos la bienvenida a Mathieu. Hi Mathieu, how are you?
Thank you very much, Sebastian. I'm fine. I'm very happy to be with you this afternoon.
Yes, Mathieu. We're here to see and talk about your presentation. It's really interesting, especially in this context where brands have a lot to tell, and there are a lot of brands that will want to tell things to their audiences, but there's so limited space where they can do it. So it will be interesting to know and see which are the new trends and how brands can efficiently do it.
Mm-hmm. I hope that I will be able to give you a good idea about the advantages of the inbound PR in this new world of digital. That's the purpose of my presentation this afternoon.
Okay, before we start, we are gonna show a little bit video. Luz, if you can help us. Hey, as I was saying earlier, we're here with Mathieu Janin. He is a PR expert, and we're here to discuss this new trend of PR, which is inbound PR. Mathieu, if you would like to start.
With pleasure. So I will start to share my screen with you first. It should be okay. Can you see my screen? Yes, okay. Can you hear me quite good? It's okay. So I will start. So hello everyone and good afternoon. We are here to talk about inbound PR and give you some very practical tips how to modernize classical public relations in the digital age. The concept of inbound PR was developed by Ilyana Stareva, the former global partner program manager for the software company HubSpot, also inventor of the concept of inbound marketing in 2005. Inbound PR was presented in Boston for the first time during the Inbound 2016 conference. So 4 years ago. Huh? Inbound PR addresses the main weakness of public relation, which is the evaluation of the return on investment of their campaigns. But before that, let me short introduce myself. I have about 30 years expertise in public relation, as Sebastian said already. And I'm the founder of please.com, so please with double E and double A, so a strange manner to spell it, but it's a good brand, I think. And I'm also founder of the Inbound PR Academy and a lot of other services, but this is what is interesting for us this afternoon. Here you can read more information about myself. I don't want to make a lot of publicity about my person this afternoon because it's not the purpose of this presentation. If you are interested, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. You can read my blog if you read English or French. You can Google me and you will find all the informations you need about this. But I've worked for 20 years in the classical public relations. I've worked in the industry. I've worked for the cigarette industry, also for churches. So I have a very broad experience of communication and also not only public relation, but also commercial communications. And this is my passion, is to be the architect of all these kind of communication. That's also why I've now started in the inbound, because it's a very efficient way to communicate in the digital age. So I've, as I said, I've a lot of experience. 30 years is a lot. So, but I've written here 3 different steps related to inbound PR. So in 2018, I have founded please.com, which is the first inbound PR agency in the French-speaking world. In the digital age, you don't have border anymore, so you work globally, and I would say language is the barrier, not the country. So it's also very important to understand in the modern age of communication. 1 year later, I founded the Internet PR Academy, and this year I've created my first e-learning course in French, an introduction of inbound PR to help PR practitioner to learn inbound PR at home, which is a very good idea with the COVID issue, of course, COVID-19. At the time, I was not suspecting that the COVID would happen, but yeah, it was a good idea to create this e-learning course also. So today's agenda, I will make a presentation in 3 different parts, and maybe after each part you will be able to ask a few questions if you have some, but Sebastian is the boss. He will interrupt me if you ask a lot of questions, and if you have no question, then I will talk further. So that's the idea of the afternoon. So the first part, I will explain you why I think that PR is broken. So classical PR is now broken in the digital age. The second part will be dedicated to how can inbound PR help you to have a better communication with your different stakeholders. And the third part, I will talk about how to do inbound PR, because it's not interesting if I'm only discussing about the concept. I need to explain you in part tips and tricks how to use inbound PR in an efficient way. So let's start with the first part. So many years, PR has become overcome by fear of knowing the bandwagon and then changing. Granted, there are a lot of professionals and a lot of PR agencies as well who are doing a great job and learning from other practices like inbound marketing, jumping on the bandwagon of social media, etc. But as an industry, PR has normally stayed behind other industries and hasn't really adopted with the world of digital. This is the main problem in my eyes of the public relations sector internationally at the present day. Overcoming fear is key for that, as well as testing, trying, experimenting, and learning. That's how we progress. So we will walk through PR this afternoon and why we feel it's broken. We mentioned that already a little bit, so we'll dig a little bit deeper. We will talk about how inbound can help and then focus on some practical tips that you can go ahead and try. A lot of them align with the inbound marketing methodology developed from 2005 to 2012 by the software company HubSpot. I assume that HubSpot is not is a concept that you already know. We hope you can take a lot from this. Go do it at home and try it for yourself, because you can also adopt inbound PR to your personal communication. Inbound PR is very good leverage to personal branding, and personal branding is very important today. So why is PR broken? Whenever we try to explain an industry, we start with its definition. If we look at the PRSA, which is the Public Relations Society of America, the biggest PR body in the world, they define PR as strategic communication process that builds mutually beneficial relationships between organizations and their publics. Let me show you another definition that's a little bit more popular in my eyes. It doesn't come from a PR person, it's coming from a marketing person, the former head of Apple in France. One of the founder of Apple, Jean-Louis Gasset, is also the founder of B Inc. For the people who are interested with the history of informatics, it's a very famous person. And Jean-Louis Gasset said that advertising is saying you are good, but PR is getting somebody else to say that you are good. So that's the whole influencer talk that we spoke about earlier on, which is very important to the public relation world. So now if I say PR equals press relation, do you agree with this affirmation or do you not agree with it? This is the question. In France, as in the French-speaking world, a lot of people are misunderstanding the abbreviation PR, and they think that PR is only related to the media relation work, which in my eyes is not correct. And I can prove it if you want with the next slide here, which is the Peso model. I will explain the Peso model. I hope that a lot of you are already knowing this concept, because it's also very important, but I will take about this later on. So I don't want to spend too much time. So first, PR is no longer just media relations. We still have earned media. So this is the first part here. You can see there are 4 different colors. So I'm beginning with the first, earned media. That's media relation, where we work with those journalists. But then we also work with different types of influencers. We also have shared media, which is social media. These new kind of media who appeared from the beginning of the 21st century. We have own media, which is really where inbound marketing comes into play, because email marketing is all about our own content. And the 4th group is the paid media. I think you are now well aware as well of Facebook or Instagram and Twitter paid posts, and also LinkedIn paid posts. On a lot of occasions, when we do PR, earn is a lot of what we think about. But for us, we think that's dead. Classical PR is dead. As we said, the media types have evolved. We as customers and consumers of information, we are very different from what we used to be before. And we make decisions differently. We buy differently. We consume information differently. The whole notion that a lot of people have about PR and really how the practices was for years, where you just mass email to a list of 500 journalists with a single press release and expect 5 pieces maybe of coverage, just doesn't work anymore in today's world. Traditional PR is outbound. Classical PR is outbound. It's similar to the outbound world that we had with inbound marketing, where we used to deploy tactics like direct mail and basically spam people with information, not at the right time, the wrong type of information, and really when they are not interested in. This is the nightmare of any communicator, but it was reality, or it's still reality for some people. So we want the industry to change. This code is very interesting. This is a code that we really love from a couple of years ago that still plays a role today. And it says that PR needs to reinvent itself, because if PR doesn't adapt to the new world of new media types, of the digital reality, basically the discipline will die out. Now, I don't think that PR, classical PR, will necessarily is not dying, but I said that the industry is slow to adapt. It's too slow to adapt. And we are at the right time now, and especially after the COVID pandemic, which is accelerating all the digital communication. We're at the right time now to look at what else can we do to reinvigorate the industry and show them that PR can be super influential and helpful to the bottom line. That's where we think inbound can play a role. Sebastian, do you have some questions for me, or shall I go further with the second part?
Yeah, I was, as you were saying, it is usually conceived that PR is only about press, but there are many more spaces where we can put our content for our audiences. So it would be interesting to know which are the main differences between PR, classical PR and inbound PR. So we are all really interested in knowing further about this.
In the second episode, so I think I have to talk further, so to let you understand the difference. Do you have other questions?
No, we're good to go. Yes.
Okay, so I go further. So how inbound can help? This is a very strategic question, very interesting. The whole premise of this came from the realization that various agencies from different backgrounds, SEO agencies, content agencies, web agencies, digital agencies, etc., are really struggling with content creation, whereas all the PR agencies have no problem with that. PR people are excelling at content. That's quite normal. It's pretty clear. PR people, what do? They create content. They create stories. And to give you the stats on that, the latest CIPR State of the Profession reports show that the day in, day out, this is what PR people do. 76% of them spend some or most time copywriting and editing. And this is really content. But this is the good news, but there is also a bad news. And the bad news is PR people are sucking at measurement. Now, we said a little earlier that PR people are not so great at measurement. A lot of PR professionals are still stuck with advertising value equivalence, where you are basically looking at how much you are paying for that ad and for the space in a magazine or any outlet. And then you are comparing if that ran an ad, and that's what the outcome would be of your PR efforts. This other statistic here that shows that 73% of PR professionals say that aligning metrics to revenue is vital, but it's also the most difficult challenge that they are facing. That's consistent. If you look at various different studies about public relations, you see that what has always been the case, it was always the case in the 17, in the 18, in the 19, and even in the 21st century. And this is the biggest challenge for our sector to face nowadays. So the inbound PR is combining PR biggest strength and biggest challenge. Inbound PR is combining content and measurement. We know that inbound marketing works for 10 to 12 years already. We've seen that before. It's like we attract people, we create a lot of the awareness content, which to a big part, PR can and should be responsible for, generating their leads. We nurture them, we put them through a whole sales process, and then we drive revenue. Of course, we don't forget the last part where we need to engage with them continuously, because we know now that our customers are the biggest driver of growth. As you maybe already know, HubSpot has killed the funnel, the conversion funnel 2 years ago, and they have replaced the funnel now with a flywheel. Flywheel is like a frisbee. I think you know, everybody knows what the frisbee is. As I said earlier, the more force you put into any of those, as in the this flywheel, the more it's gonna spin, like an UFO. And that's what we really want to achieve with inbound marketing and inbound PR. If we look at the methodology for inbound PR, You notice that it's rather similar to inbound marketing, and that's on purpose, but it uses different tools. First group of tools shown on this slide, they are the tools to attract. If you are looking at attract, it's a lot of content creation, right? That's on your website, that's blogging and those press releases. They are not bad, they just need to be used in a better way. We still have that SEO piece, social media, video ads, knowledge baits when it comes to customers. The second group in the middle are the tools to engage. The engage tools focus a lot on that engagement and direct conversation through mail. The newsroom plays a big role, and we will talk about the digital newsroom later this afternoon, because this is the most important tool for a PR person to use right now. The third groups of tools shown on this slide are the tools to delight. Of course, that continues with the social media engagement, social conversation. It would be inclusive and about really creating that relationship with our stakeholders. So now what's truly unique about PR is that PR can work with any stakeholder group, whereas inbound marketing really focuses only on those prospects, on those customers that you want to acquire. PR can be any persona. It can be the customers, it can be the media. In the modern world, those would also include journalists, influencers, bloggers, YouTubers, etc. It can also be investors, really any stakeholder group. And that's what makes PR the most unique industry of them all out there, which concerns anything around digital. We've got now the methodology in, and I know that gives you a lot of ideas on what type of tools you can use, etc. But we said in the beginning that we want to leave you with some very practical tips on how to do that, and not just a methodology. So I can start the third part of the presentation with how to do inbound PR. There are 8 steps, and they are pretty simple steps, so you can follow each one from the beginning. We start with setting goals. It's not very creative because, yeah, a lot of fields are working in a similar way. That's important whenever we do anything that we want to have an impact on our business. We nail stakeholder personas. So I don't know if you are familiar with inbound marketing. If yes, you know the meaning of the word persona. It is the avatar of your ideal stakeholder. We define their journey, we create content, and we promote it. We do inbound media relations because we are talking about PR. We don't want to lose that. Your earned media stack, this is the capital, the historical capital of the PR practitioner. We nurture them, and then at the end, we measure the results. That's a closed loop, right? That spins around in itself as a flywheel, my frisbee I talked earlier. First step, set your goals. As we said, that's the most important thing, and you need to spend a lot of time defining those goals and making sure you are comfortable with them, because if you don't have the right goals, you are not going to be able to define the right tactics, and in the end, you are going to be like, well, this doesn't work for me. Of course, it doesn't work for you because you haven't set the right goals. the biggest question you need to ask is why. And there is a whole book called Why that asks you to ask why 5 times. And you should definitely do that here. Why are we doing this? What's the purpose? Why do we even need PR? What do we hope to achieve with it? What's the type of revenue we expect with it or not? We need to be very clear on that, because when there's confusion, then people are not happy. And especially if you are an agency trying to provide a service to a customer, you have to be very aligned on those goals that you are setting here together.
Matthew?
Yes?
Yes, we've all heard about SMART objectives, and how can we include them in our PR, inbound PR strategy? And which are the boundaries of PR within the communications of a company? What types of objectives can PR pursue? Which are the main objectives that content PR can pursue?
Also, the goals need to be smart. This is obligatory in my eyes. Otherwise, you are not able to measure the results of that. And this is an important part of this. And the second part is you have to really to analyze the stakeholders to be able to set the right goals. Otherwise, you will shoot outside the target. And this is this is very time consuming, the whole process. And maybe you should really spend a lot of time at the planning of the goals, not at the end, not in the creation of content. It's also important, but if you miss this stage, then you will get bad result at the end, because you will communicate wrong with wrong messages. Yeah, I don't know if I have answered your questions, but I hope.
Yep. To sum up, the first step, we need to ask ourselves why 5 times in order to get the answers we want. We should spend lots of time in defining of our objectives. We need to use a SMART methodology to make sure they're measurable, and we need to set goals thinking about our customers, right?
Yeah, I will not speak about customers here, because customer is very much related to marketing, and in the PR world I will talk about stakeholders. This is broader, so customer can be a stakeholder also, but it's more than a customer, because we don't have only the commercial part here. We have the whole spectrum of integrated communication, which is the combination of corporate communications and also marketing communications.
We have a question here before we go on to the next step. Gabriela Mendieta asks, what tools can help us to define the first step?
There are a lot of tools. If I can give you a list of more than, I think, 300 free tools to use related to this, but so I don't want to make publicity, but I can send you the list later on. It's not a problem. But the main part is you have to transpose your brain into the brain of your stakeholders, which is very difficult if you do this in the right way. And to do this in the right way, you need to spend time with your stakeholders to really understand how they face for problems or for issues, or to be able to answer these questions with your communication. Okay?
Yeah, okay.
So you also want to know specifically how much inbound PR is supposed to help you. I'm a firm believer that inbound PR can drive revenue, and it can do that through various ways. Whether PR is going to tackle the whole prospect persona, whether they're going to work with the media or people, or whether you are going to use PR collateral in your sales process. You have to be very clear on that and have clear expectations on what you are trying to achieve. The second step is nail your stakeholders persona. After that, you want to nail your stakeholders persona. These things are very much related. For instance, when you decide on your goals and what you are trying to achieve, you can say, all right, now I'm going to work with these types of personas. And you may have multiple. You can work with your prospect. You can work with a media persona. If you want to do something with investors, that's also fine. But you have to be very clear on that. Who are those ideal people you are trying to reach? You need to go a level deeper there. And here we come to the research I mentioned earlier. So what we've seen is that a lot of people, when they come to this step, they say, oh yeah, that makes sense. I will define my personas. That's kind of like my target audience. Yeah, that's all good. We've actually got some ideas. And so you end up with assumptions rather than research. Some agencies would be very quick in jumping on it and creating a whole persona profile for the prospects. And then when asked how they went about doing this, the answer is, well, we sat together here, our team, and we discussed it, and we came up with this. Did you ever ask your customers? Did you ever research them online? Did you dig into reports for some user behavior online? Did you interview them? Did you survey them? And typically, the answer would be no. And then your content doesn't work, because what you're trying to achieve with any type of content creation is to answer the questions that your personas are having, and you want to save them time because people don't have time right now. You've got to be very specific on what those questions are, and you want to answer them. We also mentioned that we don't want to lose the whole media perspective, even though we believe that PR has evolved with the different media types. So we will focus on the media persona here right now for the purpose of this. But it's very similar to what you have already done with the buyer personas related to inbound marketing, for example. When it comes to defining a media persona, you want to know who those journalists, bloggers, YouTubers, and generally influencers are, who might be interested in your business, in your products or services. What does a day in their life look like? If those are bloggers, they'd have very different days than that of journalists who work in the newsrooms. How do they prefer to be contacted? That's key. A lot of people ignore their emails and spam it. For me, for example, I said that I have a blog and I get pitches 5 or 6 times a week. Most of them come in my email inbox and then I completely ignore them. I don't have time for my working box, let alone for my personal inbox. And so the best way to contact me, for example, is to actually send me a LinkedIn message. I will take a look at, and if it's a quick pitch, and then I can easily tell you, oh yeah, that works for me, I'm interested. Send me another email, and then I want to pay attention to you. A lot of influencers and the media people in general are like that. They have their own preferences, and you need to understand them. And the only way to actually know them is to ask them, to enter into a conversation with them. We want to know how they do research, like when they write a story. We do that as well when it comes to our prospects. We look at their entire online journey and we look at what they read and how do they consume it. Who do they ask for recommendations, etc. You also want to know what they are looking for in stories. Some journalists may be interested in data and facts, others may be more interested in interviews or customer stories, etc. Each person is different. You also want to know that what challenges they have. For some of them, they may need to turn around a story into 24 hours if they work for the telejournal at the TV or in the daily press, for example. Can you be just as agile? That's important too. Well, these are just some example questions. There are plenty that you can develop on your own as well, but the idea is that through asking those questions and doing your research, you can create a full picture of the persona you are trying to target. And then you need to take that a level up with defining their journey. The third step is, as I said, define their journey. I'm sure you are aware of the buyer's journey, mentioned a lot in the inbound marketing business. And here you can see the classical buyer journey. It's the process someone goes through from understanding that they have a problem, through researching the details of it, and then deciding on a solution. That's very typical when it comes to email marketing. And it's the same when we go into inbound PR. And looking at any other persona, so here again, we will focus on the media. These guys, even if it's a YouTuber or a blogger, they know I actually need a story. I need to create something here. They are researching their ideas. This is where you want to pop up, and then at the end, they are going to pick the story and the brands that they want to work with. This is also, again, where you want to have persuaded them already because you answered the questions with your content that they found through their research journey. The fourth step is creating a content plan. So knowing the questions that they ask is also helpful when it comes to creating your content. Content creation is another area where we've seen a lot of people struggle because they do it strategically, they don't do it strategically enough, and they just start backwards, which is bad. What we mean by that is a lot of people come up with lots of blog posts ideas, which are really great topics, and they are good, but they don't go back all the way, and they sort of do it backwards. You need to be really strategic with this, and you are going to have to create different content for different personas. Can you repurpose it? Yes. The best way to start with content creation is to first start with your persona. Define the questions they ask throughout their journey. These are your keywords. Make sure you know which stage they relate to, because that's going to help you later when it comes to lead nurturing, and then answer those questions with content offers. Content offers can be ebook, webinars, anything on your newsroom, videos, etc. Something that's of higher value. And then you use your blog post and press release and other content on the newsroom as your promotional efforts. They are still content, but they are the ones that will actually be found online and will guide the person, that persona, to the content offer. It's important to start that way and not backwards. Once you have that, you will have a bunch of content IDs, a bunch of content out there, but you need to promote it. And we live in a world where there's just so much information out there. Everyone is very careful about what they consume and how they spend their time. That's why it becomes really hard to actually decide how to promote the content. The content format is important too. I mentioned a couple of examples already, and depending on what time of industry you're in, you'd want to consider that too. You will be answering those questions that your personas are asking, but are you using the right format that they prefer? This is a very expensive question. I love video right now, but I don't have the patience to watch long videos at the present time. So if you give me a 2-minute video, I'm okay with that. Ebooks really depends on the topic. You have to be conscious, and you're going to have to test that with your personas too, in terms of where they read, how to read legitimately, how they consume content, and what type as well. Speaking of video, we mentioned that earlier. By 2020, it means at the present day, video will make up more than 80% of consumer digital traffic. Are you surprised about that? Yes? No? Me neither. Let's jump into the fifth step. Yes?
If we go into the fifth step, I have a question here.
Okay, please.
How do you manage PR in small businesses? Can we still apply the 8 same steps to it?
In small businesses?
Yes.
I would say in the same way than for big businesses, there are no difference.
There are no differences. Okay.
For small businesses, the problem is they have less resources to handle this, but it's also a huge opportunity for a small business to become a much bigger business if they communicate in the accurate way. So it's an investment. We have to see this as an investment to develop the reputation of the small business. But the process is the same. You cannot spend. You cannot cut the process because of the small size of your company. Unfortunately, it would be great, but it's not possible in my eyes.
Mathieu, a question related to it. You said small businesses have limited resources. So does this mean they have to be even more strategically when developing an inbound PR strategy?
The problem, small businesses, who is doing the PR or the communication job for the small business? Is it the business owner himself or herself? Is this person aware of communication, public relations or not? Because a lot of small business owners, they have another job and they are not communicator, they are not born communicator or born marketers. So they have to learn the job themselves, or they have to outsource the job to a small agency, for example, which is specialized in developing the reputation of small companies. And the small agency will work around the same process than this one.
Perfect. That's perfect.
So let's talk now about promotion, because the promotion part is very, very important. We will see later on, it's more important than creating the content itself. Yeah, so I said there is too much noise in the present world, too much communication everywhere. We know this, and this is the problem. So you can produce awesome content, but if your content is not reaching the right person or the right stakeholder, all the work is for nothing. And that's the reason why the promotion is so important. So this is very interesting. It's a cool graph that I always use in real life, and it gets updated every year. But when you look at the amount of content that's out there on each of those for 60 seconds, it's insane. So in 60 seconds in year 2020, we are producing 19 million text messages per minute. Every minute, 19 million text messages. So it shows us that we are full on addicted to our smartphones, which is not a scoop, I think. 57% of the global population has internet access nowadays, and they are probably active on one of those networks, because each people has an average of 8.5 social media accounts. So you can measure yourself with the average if you are above or under the average, but these are the actual figures about this. The equation really for successful content promotion is around 20% content creation and 80% content distribution. So we get bogged down on creating new content and fresh content all the time, whereas actually what we should be focusing on is promoting that content. So if you have a great video and you are going to promote that, but you are also going to repurpose it and you are going to use it, you can turn your content into blogs, you can turn it into Facebook message, cut it down into shorter videos, etc. So there are so much you can do, and consider that part of your content distribution as well, because that content is already there. It's created. You have only to recycle it, and you will spare a lot of time by doing this. So you just need to repurpose it. You need to get it out in front of the people where they actually like to consume it in different forms. The sixth step is doing inbound media relation. And that's one of the coolest things that I love when it comes to content distribution. This is the so-called PESO model. The PESO model, the P for paid media, E for earned media, S for shared media, O for owned media. It comes from Janin, the founder of SpinSucks, a PR agency in Chicago. And it's one of the best ways to spread an entire PR campaign throughout all of the media types. If we start with earns, you may have a video to be published. How can we get that into some interesting media outlets or bloggers who talk about this topic? Perhaps they will be interested in it. You share that, all about social media. You've owned, we spoke about that earlier. That's super important, especially when it comes to SEO. That's your website, your videos in your own channels, etc. And paid is key, but it needs to be done in a smart way, especially if you want to promote your content and get it out in front of the right people. And paid is also expensive. So Facebook ads, etc. are great because you can be very specific with the audience that you define. You can select only a village, maybe now, but a town in Peru, thanks to Facebook, this is very easy to address a single town in your country. One of the examples that we gave here, how do we spread the content with the media? It's like the coldest inbound media relation. It's nothing different than what it used to be in terms of trying to work with journalists or influencers. It really just comes down to the approach, and it's more about, rather than assuming that they'll be interested in our press release or in the news that we have, making sure that they really do, and then reaching out of them in the right way. So doing good inbound media relation needs also 8 different steps. First, do your research. You've already heard this earlier this afternoon, but we need to repeat it a lot to be written in the heads of the, of the stakeholders. You want to do your research, we spoke about that earlier, yeah. Get creative with your outreach. You perhaps want to get a little creative with your outreach. When I, as an influencer, receive an email with loads of text in the press release in it, that's just not going to cut it for me. If you even record a short Loom video for me, for example, which explains the whole story, I will pay more attention to it. Thirdly, don't be spammy or overdo it. You also don't want to be spammy. What happens a lot for me is someone would email me once, then wait 3 days, email me back again, wait another 3 days. And so within a week, I have 5 emails following up and following up and following up when I'm clearly not interested in the content. Fourth, create remarkable content. You want to make sure that you create remarkable content that we spoke about, that really answers the questions that your stakeholders are asking. Fifth, use emotion over structure. You also want to use a little bit of emotion. We do react to emotion. We want to laugh. Someone want to cry or don't want to cry, but it works a lot. So what's typical about press releases is that they always follow a format which is okay. It's helpful and you still need to stick to it, but you want to shake it up a little bit. At least that's what worked really well for me. I used to coach a startup a few years ago in Montreux, and that's exactly what we did, and we got a lot of press coverage out with bringing this emotion in our communications. Don't forget your own media. I want to make it easy for them to actually reach out to you. Make sure your own media is on par. How many of you on your website have a PR contact in your Contact Us page? There is a PR person or not, but having a PR person there is very important. Make it easy to reach you. What happens is when you pitch someone, you are trying to gauge their interest. You are trying to make them want more. So if what they see is interesting, the first thing they are going to do is go check you out on your website, on your Facebook profile. They will Google you. They are going to vet you. And if you got nothing there, then they are not going to pay any more attention. If you reverse it, if they found it online throughout their research and they want to know more, you need to have your peer contact out there, or the person who can actually spend time with these people, giving them the additional information that they need, the classical spokesperson function. 8 steps, last one, share their content. And this is quite new in this inbound PR. The classical PR was not doing this until now. Share the content of the journalists, help the journalists to get also awareness and help them to build their reputation. If you do this, you will make a friendship with the journalist. This is quite logical, if you want. Then this is the long run. This is the long run relationship with the media personas, or with your media contacts. You have to nurture your relationship with them on long term. We found through research that very few people and very few companies leverage the newsroom, and mostly it's really big names like Coca-Cola. So earlier I've talked about this media center or media newsroom. There are a lot of names, but this is the most important toolbox of the modern PR practitioner in the 21st century. The media newsroom really is a media to go resource for your media relation. Most of companies already have on their website a section called downloads or resources that's designed for their prospects. But how many do already have an existing media newsroom for their media relations? Unfortunately, only a very few of them, and most of them are huge international companies.
So Matthew, you were talking about the PESO model, and do you think it is important to have a connection between all of those parts of the PESO model? Because you mentioned the need of connection. If you are sharing a press release with media, the client, the customer, the stakeholder will go to the company's website and look it out and look for more information. But if they don't find the right information, they will stop looking, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just that you share content with the media outlets. You have to also consider paid media, share media, and own media as important parts of your inbound strategy.
Of course. So now at the present day, I will use all the parts of the PESO model because otherwise you are losing your time and your energy, because the communication is not done correctly. You have to use all the parts to leverage the effect to be able to produce good communication with good results.
We call it here the
the only way to do this is to use all the 4 different parts of the PESO model.
Yeah, we call it here the 360-degree model. So you can be, you can cover up all the points or the contact points that the stakeholders will look in order to search for information.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So which one is the final step that we need to follow in order to have a correct and right inbound PR strategy?
So let's go further with this newsroom, because you will see this is very practical. So you will see what you need. I mean, if you have all this information on your website, then you are forced to produce good communications, I think. So I will take the next example, next slide here. This is the newsroom of Cisco Systems. So Cisco System is doing a terrific communication for, I don't know, 30 years, I think. They were always very, very good in communicating, and they have grown very rapidly because they were very good communicators in a sector where the other competitors were not so good. So it's a very interesting example. So if you see, this is the newsroom. I think yesterday I took some screenshots of their website. As you can see, they are publishing a lot of news stories, a lot of visuals, of course, news releases. This is classical, but they do also produce their executive leadership bios and information about them, about the awards they win. They have their whole social feeds, etc. It's really helpful, especially for, as we said earlier, media people doing their research. They also want to choose who to work with. And if you think about building one, it's actually pretty simple. So you have to create a new website, or you have to develop your existing website. You can also rent an already done for you newsroom by a provider. There are different providers who can rent you such a digital newsroom. And here on this slide, we say the content. There are 16 key pieces you need to implement in your newsroom. And if you have an inbound agency, they can easily build this for you, the same ways as they will build the download section of your website a few years ago. It's the exact same story when it comes to the newsroom, but it's hugely important to start with the right architecture on the website, because in the beginning, you may have very little piece of content. But later on, when that builds up and becomes more, it will be harder for people to actually search all the informations you have there, and to sort them when they are looking for something very specific. So one time again, it's very important to be strategic at the beginning, to think about the right architecture. Otherwise, you will maybe spend a lot of money 3-4 years later because you've done the job not in the right way. So we have seen a lot of PR agencies who jumped on inbound PR doing this as a service for their clients. And what it really helps is not just ensuring that you answer the question of immediate personas, but also having a centralized place where you put them, because it's on your website, and it also helps you to get more visibility online through search engine optimization, of course. So as the pieces, we have the press releases, the press coverage coverage, research studies, high quality visuals, very important for the press, 300 dots per inch to be able to print your pictures on paper in the right way and not only poor resolutions. They are super important when it comes to print. Yeah, you also need interviews with important people, with your CEO maybe, with your people of the C-level people, podcast, webinars, bios, company awards. It's also, when a company earns an award, it's very interesting to communicate it to the rest of the world. This is also free and you can be proud of it, so let's communicate it. PR contents details. This is very important to find the right PR people for the right topic. Any guest articles also, product information, service sheets, case studies, events, past events, and also future events. Okay, at the present time, events is not very popular, but I think the time will come. The events are not definitely dead, I hope. Online media kits, investor relation, and then generally also your blog and social media feeds. If people want to get in touch with you or dig a little bit deeper and get to know your audience. The media newsroom is really helpful as well when it comes to nurturing your leads, because it's a really easy way for you to point these people to the right direction where you already got the content. Flying wheel is here again. So lead nurturing can be applied to all of the stakeholder personas. It's not just our prospect, as we traditionally try to do. It could really be anybody, and as long as you have the right tools, it will be easy to do. Why? Because you've already set up your personas, you know the questions they are asking throughout the buyer's journey, and lead nurturing is nothing different than moving your persona from one stage of the buyer journey to the other and doing it in an automatic way, ideally, of course, with a software. And the software, there are many software to use to achieve these tasks. The most famous is HubSpot, but there are others. When it comes to inbound marketing, I believe you are all familiar with this, ensuring that you use the right tools at the right time to generate the traffic, generate the leads, convert them, depending on whether that's media people you want to work with on creating some coverage, or if that's customers you actually want to close for your business to turn them into revenue. This is the circle of the commercial circle, if we want. And PR is a part of this circle. This depends again on the goal that you've set out in the beginning, but this can work out just as easily for media people where you want to grab their attention with something bite-sized, something small, when they're in their awareness stage, and then make them want more, and then ideally in some automated shape or form, you actually give them that information. What's quite interesting, and that's going to be one of our challenges for the next few years, that's why I said the lead generation really doesn't work unless you have tools. So you need digital tools to help you to achieve this work, is that with artificial intelligence, bots, a lot of the IoT technologies and things that are coming up, a lot more things will become available to us and will become a lot easier for us to do to achieve those leads nurturing results we want. This is really cool research as well that you can leverage. But I think what's really scary here is that 87% of the workforce expect part of their job to be automated in the near future. Don't you find this scary? 87, it's a lot, right?
Yeah, totally. 87, it's a huge percent of workforce being automated by machines, not what we used to do in the past.
Yeah. But this is an opportunity for us also, because what tools cannot do and what technology cannot do for us is think and create a strategy, because the tools, they enable that, but you are going to have to come up with it. You are the leader, your brain is the boss, and the artificial intelligence is not really intelligent. So they are very good to compute a lot of informations and do a lot of jobs, but you are the stratege, you are the big strategic part. And yeah, this is not like science fiction films with where the computers are diriging the world. I think it will not be so, not in the near future at least. To close the loop of these 8 steps to starting with inbound PR, we've looked from personas and their journey. We've looked through content creation and promotion. We've looked through media relations and also lead nurturing for it. We need to measure the results. And we said at the beginning that PR has been notoriously known for not doing this very well in the past. And the data really is out there. There are a bunch of tools. HubSpot is one tool. This is the most famous. HubSpot has invented all this concept of digital communication, permission marketing, with the conversion funnels, with the emailing series, and so on. And there is also another tool that I love. This is Builderall, and I don't know if you know Builderall, because Builderall was created in South America. So it's a very interesting tool. It's much cheaper than HubSpot. So for small companies, this is very affordable. Big companies can afford expensive solutions like HubSpot, and maybe smaller companies, I would advise them to use Builderall. But you can achieve a lot with both softwares. There is also Google Analytics, of course. There are a lot of free tools on the web which you can use to help you to do your work. As I said earlier, I can provide you a list with about 300, but there maybe from time to time it's better to invest a little bit money, for example, in a suite where all the tools are integrated, instead of using 50 different tools which are not connected together. So you can also spend a lot of time by trying to interconnect the tools that are not compatible together. So it's not always free is not always the best solution. And one tool that is very interesting, I don't know if you know it already, this is the Emacs framework. And this framework, the whole idea behind this framework is that you need to plan with outcomes and the result you are hoping to achieve, not outputs. And it's great to have ideas like using a blog or Facebook advertising, but you really need to start from the overarching strategy and goals that you are setting, and then define the right tactics to make that happen. So I will finish my talk with a quick recap. With inbound PR, you want to set your goals. You want to nail your stakeholder personas and their journey. Through proper research, you want to create a good content plan and then subsequently content. Make sure you spend 80% of your time actually promoting your content rather than just creating it. This is very important. Email media relations can be part of that, and lead nurturing can help you too. At the end, you want to measure the results because that's hugely important so that you can learn what worked, what didn't, what we can do better, what we can get rid of, and what can we try again. Another good idea to measure your work is also to gain quality in your communication works, and so you will it will be easier for you to defend your budget in front of your CEO, for example, if you can prove that your job has brought result and has contributed to develop growth to your employer. So those are the 8 key steps when it comes to launch an inbound PR campaign. I would like to give you as a bonus or as a first bonus 3 final takeaways. First, it's time for the PR industry to reinvent itself, and you can actually learn a lot from inbound marketing. I don't know how it is in Peru, but in Switzerland, it's the marketing world or marketing people and PR people, they don't like each other so much because they are a little bit, they compete together inside the communications. And as the PR people are a little bit in trouble because they don't have invest enough time to develop their jobs with the digital age, they are a little bit afraid, and it's not really easy to combine marketing and PR. Maybe I hope that the situation is not the same in Peru, but this is a problem, and this is very interesting. If you are interested in merging or in integrating the whole communications of a company, the marketing people, they are already used to work with inbound marketing. So they understand the philosophy behind it. So if you can bring the PR people and the marketing people to understand the inbound philosophy and to work with the same philosophy, it will be much easier to bring those, so both departments together and to run a much more efficient communication at the end of the day. So this is also, it's not written on the slides, but it's very important to know this. So for a CEO, it could be a good idea to sell the idea to a CEO to say, okay, let's develop inbound PR in your PR department. Let's develop inbound marketing in your marketing department. It will be much easier for both departments to collaborate together. If you want to dig deeper into the learnings of inbound PR, I advise you to read and use the only book written until now about inbound PR. So the book is written by Ilyana Stareva. And this is a very practical reading and a very useful resource I personally use on a daily basis. almost so important like the Bible for a public relation practitioner, I would say. And last but not least, I have a final bonus for you. If you send, I don't know if you send the PowerPoint presentation to all the attendees, but I think if you click on this slide on the PowerPoint version, you have a direct link to my bonus. So we have discussed a lot about digital tools, and if you are interested in testing an integrated digital communication suite lifelong for free. So if you are interested, don't forget to visit this website. So this is builderallforfree.com to register and get your free login and password to be able to test this digital communication platform for free. Builderall is an awesome toolbox I use every day with 30 different softwares helping us to do all the job, all the pieces of work I've described earlier this afternoon. You can achieve this with this digital communication suite. And this suite has been created by a citizen from South America, not from Peru, unfortunately, but from Brazil. Eric Salgado, I don't know if you know this person, because Eric Salgado is very famous in Brazil as a digital marketer. And he has created a company in America a few years ago called Builderall. And this is very interesting. So you can also contact me on LinkedIn or send me an email here. Voila, on this slide, I have all my contact here, and I can provide you a lifelong free account to test the suite without, it costs nothing. It's fully free. So you can really test inbound PR with the right tools.
Mathieu?
So I think I'm over. It was maybe too long. I don't know.
No, it was perfect.
It's a lot of material, but
it was really interesting to see how you develop this model, how you make it yours. It was really interesting to see the 5 steps. We have now time for a brief Q&A. So we'll start with a question from the workplace. Okay, but before, we'll send everyone here a survey, a quick survey that you can complete. It's just a 2-question survey. We'll give a little bit more seconds for people to complete the survey. Then we'll go on with the Q&A. Okay. Okay. Well, everyone completes the survey. We have a couple of questions. For example, Ronaldo Deo Broncano asks, is it necessary to follow those steps, or we can just try to adapt it to our proposal?
I would advise you to follow the steps. The danger, if you not follow these steps, the danger is that you will maybe shoot ahead of the targets. It's a very, you have, I think we have very good reason to produce bad communications at the end. But you can try. You can find maybe a better way to communicate. I mean, it's not written in stone.
If you could just explain in one line what inbound means and why is it better than traditional managing communications in order to sum up the presentation. So, how would you define in one word PR, inbound PR, in order to sum up?
I could describe it with permission PR, you know. So this is the difference between, so inbound is, I don't know in Spanish if you have a, if it's good understandable for you, but for us, for example, in French, it's absolutely not understandable what inbound is. We can translate it in French with entrant, entering communication. It means this is the opposition of interrupted. When somebody is interrupted through a piece of communication in his activity, it's a bad sign for him, because he's not really open to this communication. So this is the reason why permission communication is better than interruption communication. And this is the inbound, outbound. Yeah, it's an American world. We have found nothing better in French and in Spanish. I don't know. I cannot help you. Maybe you have an idea to explain.
I would have a last question from Ana Valencia, and she asks, which piece of advice would you give to manage PR in this current time during a pandemic specifically?
So during the pandemics, I think that digital communication is very important, of course, and then you have to pay very much attention to the feelings of the stakeholders at the present time, because if you, we have seen, for example, classical TV ads, and suddenly with the COVID, all the TV ads were totally no more actual in the minds of the people, because you cannot show people fearing together with a lot of friends and drinking beers together if all the people are locked down in their house and are not able to meet with friends and something like that. So it's very important to be in a position to adapt our communication to the real world, and this is of course much easier if you communicate in a digital way. That's also the reason why the digital Zoom is so popular at the present time, and all these digital tools, they are used, and you can, this is good that internet was so developed at the present day with the pandemic, because if the pandemic was actual 10 years ago, I don't know, so we won't be in a position to make this talk this afternoon, I think. So, and yeah, now all the companies and all the communications are working online at the present day, and I think in the future the COVID-19 is also an accelerator for developing the digital communication worldwide. We know already, for example, in Switzerland, the lockdown is now over, but the people don't want to travel again. Business travel is struggling at the present time, because a lot of CEOs say it's much better to communicate via video conference. We spare a lot of time in all this traveling time, and it was the digital communication brings you a better quality of life.
Perfect, Matthew. I think it's been really interesting, clear, and practical. I want to thank you one more time for your presentation, your time. Thank you.
Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you. In order to conclude this conference, we would like to invite Claudia Guillén, the director of our career, to give us the final words.
Hola chicos, Merci. ¿Me están escuchando?
Sí.
Ok. Muchísimas gracias por estar aquí, muchísimas gracias a nuestro expositor por darse el tiempo. Sé que para él es tarde, es tarde en la noche, entonces mucho mejor por haberse dado el tiempo para poder discutir. Por favor, sigan asistiendo a nuestras charlas y pasen la voz a sus compañeros. Hemos tenido excelentes exposiciones. Si no han podido entrar hoy a la 1, pasen la voz porque las charlas se quedan grabadas en el link que hemos estado pasando y ustedes pueden entrar las veces que quieran y después las veces que quieran revisar los otros archivos. No se olviden, de lunes tenemos la charla a las 4 con Perú Champs, el martes 1 a la 1 también con una persona de España, de Villafaña, España. El miércoles tenemos Resiliencia con un expositor súper bueno de Colombia y jueves viene la Casa de Todos a las 4 de la tarde y el viernes próximo hacemos nuestra clausura. Gracias chicos por estar aquí, gracias a todos los egresados que he visto conectados, me alegra mucho de verlos y gracias a nuestro expositor estrella, por favor. Thank you very much for being with us this afternoon. Y bueno, sigamos, vamos por más chicos, que sí se puede. Un abrazo a todos.
And take care, all of you. Huh? Be safe, be healthy,
Be safe.
And stay at home.
Sí. Thank you.
Gracias por asistir. Un fuerte abrazo, muchísimas gracias. Thank you, Matthew, one more time.
You are welcome. Thank you, all of you. Have a nice weekend.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you very much.
You are welcome.